B2B event marketing strategies to boost lead flow in 2025. Events in 2025, back to revenue, not just branding. B2B events are back in a big way in 2025, but the expectation has changed. They're being held to pipeline and revenue outcomes, not just good visibility. In Splash's 2025 outlook, 88% of marketers identify events as a key revenue driver, and 89% say events are critical for business growth. That shift is why the teams winning right now treat event marketing as an extension of sales development, not a calendar of sponsorships. Format matters too. Roughly 60% of events are now in person, 35% are virtual, and 5% are hybrid. So the playbook can't be one follow-up sequence for everything. Buyers are in rooms again, and competitors are showing up with tighter outbound motions and better meeting coverage. The most common failure we see is running events like it's 2015. A nice booth, a lot of scans, and then a generic nurture email. If you want predictable lead flow, you need an event lifecycle that sales can execute. Pre-booked meetings, live qualification, and post-event cadences that convert intent while it's hot. Why B2B events convert so well, and why ROI pressure is rising. Events work because they compress trust. Multiple sources point to the same theme. Marketers increasingly rank events as a top-performing channel, with Cvent reporting 77% of marketers say events are their most effective marketing channel. When you combine that with the fact that in-person events are often considered the most impactful or trusted environment for marketing conversations, the opportunity for sales is obvious. But the bar is higher now because leadership wants proof. Bizzabo reports 95% of event teams say demonstrating event ROI is a top priority, which forces tighter alignment between marketing, SDRs, and AEs. If you can't connect event touches to meetings booked, pipeline created, and deal velocity, event budgets get questioned fast. This is where an SDR agency mindset wins. Treat events like a measurable channel with capacity planning, conversion targets, and weekly reporting. Whether you build it in-house or use sales outsourcing, you'll need an outbound operating system around every event, because ROI isn't a post-event report, it's the byproduct of disciplined execution. Build an event portfolio that feeds the pipeline. Event-led growth starts with portfolio design. Instead of saying yes to random sponsorships, we recommend mapping every event to a job in the funnel. Pipeline sourcing, net new opportunities; pipeline influence, advancing existing deals; or retention, expansion, customer outcomes. When you plan that way, smaller field events and regional dinners become just as strategic as a flagship conference, because they can produce higher quality conversations per dollar. The market is already shifting toward more frequent, smaller moments. Bizzabo's event growth reporting shows customers increased average events hosted by 52% in H1 2024, with in-person events up 40.3% and small regional field events up 60%. That's great news for sales if you have a scalable outbound engine to keep those field events filled with the right accounts. Common mistake: measuring every event the same way. A big conference might be judged on meeting volume and influenced pipeline, while a 20-person executive roundtable should be judged on deal progression and multi-threading. In both cases, the only way to make the numbers real is to plan SDR coverage and AE participation before you commit the spend. Pre-event: turn the calendar into an SDR-driven meeting engine. Pre-event outreach is where lead flow is won or lost. The goal isn't more invites, it's walking into the event with 30 to 70% of your target meetings already scheduled, so your booth traffic becomes upside, not your whole plan. That means giving your team segmented lists at least 3 to 4 weeks out, with event-specific messaging and a clear meeting setting KPI. List quality is the constraint. high-performing teams build a usable target universe that blends attendee registrant data, where allowed, last year attendee analysis, sponsor speaker clues, and lookalike ICP accounts that will be in market even if they don't attend. This is also where list-building services and a specialized outbound sales agency can create leverage, because who we target matters as much as how we message. Your sequence should feel like a helpful planning assist, not spam. A tight cadence combines a short, cold email, agency-style message, clear, personalized, and agenda-driven. A call from trained cold callers, and LinkedIn outreach services to confirm attendance and lock time. Common mistake: waiting until the week of the event. By then, calendars are full, and you're competing with everyone else's last-minute blast. If your event plan doesn't include list building, outbound sequences, and a follow-up SLA, you don't have an event strategy, you have a sponsorship. During the event, run live outbound and qualification in real time. The event itself is a high-intent window, so treat it like one. We like having a two-speed setup. AEs and on-site reps run the best conversations, while an SDR pod runs live outbound, calling no-shows, same-city ICP accounts, and newly scanned leads to book meetings while urgency is highest. This is where a cold calling team can outperform email-only follow-up, because you're catching prospects between sessions, not 2 weeks later in a crowded inbox. Operationally, you need a simple routing system. Every interaction should be tagged with next step, timing, and owner, SDR versus AE, then pushed into your CRM the same day. Common mistake: treating booth scans as leads without context. Without qualification notes, you can't prioritize follow-up and you can't defend ROI later. Buyer behavior supports the effort. Splash reports: 72% of marketers say prospects close faster after attending events, and 52% attribute at least half of closed-won deals to events. The practical takeaway is simple: speed matters, and your ability to convert intent during and immediately after the show is a competitive advantage. Post-event, segment follow-up by heat, and make it measurable. Most teams waste their budget after the event by dumping every contact into a single nurture stream. Instead, segment within 24 to 48 hours into hot, SQL ready, warm, engaged but not ready, and cold, badge scan only or minimal interaction. Then run different cadences, offers, and ownership. That's how you protect SDR time and keep AEs focused on the conversations that can convert this quarter. Follow-up should be multi-channel and meeting first. A practical motion combines phone, email, and LinkedIn with a crisp CTA like pick a time or confirm the next step we discussed, rather than a generic recap. If you're using pay-per-appointment lead generation or an outsourced sales team, define the service level agreement up front. How fast outreach starts, what qualifies as a meeting, and how handoffs are documented. Measurement is the other half of the win. Track meetings booked, ops created, ops stage movement, and time to next step by event, and compare sourced versus influenced pipeline, so your reporting matches how revenue actually happens. When 95% of event teams say ROI proof is a top priority, this level of attribution isn't nice to have, it's table stakes. Common failure points and how to fix them without hiring a whole team. The first failure point is capacity. Events stack up, but SDR bandwidth doesn't. With more events happening year-round, many teams try to do events on top of their existing outbound quotas, and both suffer. The fix is treating event coverage like a campaign with dedicated capacity, whether that's internal pods or sales outsourcing through a sales development agency that can spin up around your calendar. The second failure point is message mismatch. In-person, virtual, and hybrid formats require different hooks and meeting offers because grab 20 minutes at the booth doesn't work for a virtual attendee, and let's do a Zoom isn't compelling when you're both in the same building. When the channel mix is roughly 60% in-person, 35% virtual, and 5% hybrid, your outreach has to reflect the experience the buyer is actually having. The third failure point is inconsistent data hygiene. If contacts aren't verified, notes aren't captured, and lead sources aren't standardized, your reporting becomes fiction, and your follow-up becomes guesswork. This is why many teams pair their events with B2B list-building services and structured outbound playbooks, so execution stays consistent even when the event calendar gets hectic. Optimization. Make events predictable with replicable outbound systems. Once the basics are in place, optimization is about repeatability. Identify the 10 to 20% of events that produce outsized ACV, win rate, or sales velocity, and concentrate your best AE coverage there. This is also where a specialized cold calling agency or B2B sales agency can add value by building event-specific talk tracks, objection handling, and meeting setting standards your team can reuse across the year. We also recommend testing live intent loops. For example, when a prospect attends your session or engages at the booth, trigger an immediate SDR touch within hours, not days, using concise personalization and a direct next step. Even small improvements in speed to lead and show-up rate compound across a busy event season, especially when your team is juggling telesales, outbound, and event follow-up at the same time. At SalesHive, we've seen this work at scale because the process is the product. Since 2016, we've booked 100,000 plus meetings for 1,500 plus B2B clients by combining US-based and Philippines-based SDR coverage, our eMod email personalization engine, and proven outbound playbooks that plug into client CRMs. For teams evaluating SalesHive reviews or SalesHive pricing, the real question is whether you want event follow-up to be an ad hoc scramble or a measurable system you can forecast. Next steps for 2025. Build an event-led growth motion you can defend. The 2025 opportunity is straightforward. Buyers are showing up, and events are being judged as revenue channels. With 88% of marketers calling events a revenue driver and 89% calling them critical for growth, the teams that win will be the ones that operationalize events like any other demand channel. That means goals, capacity, plays, and reporting before you order the swag. Start by committing to a simple operating rhythm for every key event. Pre-book meetings 3 to 4 weeks out, run live outbound during the show, and segment follow-up by heat within 48 hours. Then align on a small set of KPIs that both sales and marketing trust: meetings held, pipeline created, pipeline influenced, and deal acceleration. When leadership asks, "Did this event work?" you'll have an answer grounded in CRM data, not anecdotes. If you need to scale coverage without hiring, consider where an outsourced sales team can slot in: list building, cold email, B2B cold calling services, or full SDR pods around your top events. Whether you outsource sales for a flagship conference or a year-round calendar of field events, the goal is the same: turn event spend into repeatable lead flow and predictable pipeline.